You are back for another episode of Your Palm Beach Guide. I'm Doug Evans, the president and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. And talk about an amazing place to live. If you can live here, great. We'd love to have you. If you can visit here, we'd love you even more. The hotels are terrific. The restaurants are amazing. The street life, the retail, it's all terrific. And one of the amazing things that you see on television, you know, the old TV show Lifestyles, the Rich and Famous, that one kind of like dates me a little bit there, is this is a real marine environment. By marine, I mean boating. And if you drive, when you drive through Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, you see the marinas and the beautiful yachts. And my guest today is a Chamber of Commerce member, Paul Denton with Quality Yachting. Good morning. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me, Doug.
I'm so glad you're here. You know, Paul is an amazing professional. He's involved with the Chamber of Commerce, but what he does is he brokers, sells yachts, correct?
Yeah, we represent, so I work with a company called Denison Yachting. Underneath them, we do charter, yacht management, and yacht acquisitions and sales. Tend to sit in that super yacht range, you know, somewhere in there. We like concentrate on sport fishes, high-end center consoles, and motor yachts.
It's amazing what you do, because I had the great pleasure at one point in time to work for Guy Harvey, and I got to run fishing tournaments, and those are yachts. Those fishing yachts with it just blow how much they cost, number one, on top of it. Yeah. So Paul, you know, you do a lot of boat shows. We call them boat shows. I assume that's what you call them also, boat shows.
Oh yeah.
And there's the Miami Boat Show, there's the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, there's the Palm Beach Boat Show, all of them which are really big, which is amazing to me. Paul, when you do these, you know, what is your job? Is it to market, to get people there? I mean, what is your real position? Because I knew you as a friend, as a professional, and I watch all your emails and social media contact. So what is your exact role with Denison? So tell me a little more.
So I represent a buyer or a seller in a transaction. The goal for a boat show, number one, is to get them on a bunch of different product. Rarely does somebody show up to the show knowing exactly what they want to purchase.
Really?
They'll come in with a size and a budget. So I'll take them under my wing. Before they show up, I'll make sure I walk the show and have a conversation with this client so I can go pinpoint what boats I want to put them on and don't over budget or get them into a scenario where they're uncomfortable, where we're showing them $20 million boats and they want to be in a $5 million boat. Now, what do we hear? Now the wife wants to buy the $20 million boat and we get ourselves in a pinch. So as a boat show, we do our due diligence to bring them and escort them around and put them on a product they actually enjoy and what they're actually looking for.
So you're like a marine real estate professional, basically.
Spot on, yeah.
And you're going from property to property, using probably not the right word, but it's boat to boat. Yeah. Trying to match the consumer with exactly what they're looking for. So Paul, when I've been to a couple of these shows, which thank you for inviting me, let me be your guest. I love it because I get to walk around all these boats that are worth millions of dollars. Is amazing. So people, they want you to sell their boats. So you've got both sides of the transaction. Hopefully you've got a buyer and a seller all in one. Hopefully they're going to trade up or trade down. What's the range of prices for the boats that you're selling? I mean, there's some small ones there, but they're not cheap from what I've seen. So yeah. With your professional career, with what you've done, what's the range from low to high that you've worked on as far as these transactions?
So I'll go as low as 500,000 and as high as 20 million. Obviously we have a team that can focus on north of 20 million. There's other people in my office that we can assist and group up. If you're looking for a 50 meter for 100 million, we can make that happen for you. We work directly with shipyards throughout the whole entire world. Denison Yachting has 27 waterfront locations.
That's huge.
So we're here from Florida, New York, overseas, West Coast, East Coast, we're all over. You
say 27 waterfront. What does that mean? 27 waterfront locations. That's where you have your boats for sale in your offices?
Yep. And we have offices in Monaco, Nice. We have offices in West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, all the way up to New York, California, all over the world.
And when people come to buy a boat, are they? I know that boats are financeable. You can finance a boat, but are most of your buyers, are they cash buyers when they come in to buy these things? So there's not that process to go through.
Correct. Yeah, cash, and there's also tax incentives that you deal with these yachts, similar to airplane and aviation.
Well, no, I'm okay. Now I'm confused. What's a tax incentive for a yacht? This is kind of interesting for me.
So if you're to put the boat into a charter platform, and you can offset your cost a little bit, really tax code 169 comes into play, where you get the depreciation value of the asset, and you can place it as a work vessel. So it's now hired for crew. You can now charter the boat for $100,000 a week to your clients, or your guests, or your friends. Or just signing up with us as Denison Yachting will represent your vessel in the charter fleet.
But you can still use it yourself when you want to use it, correct?
Correct.
That's
you can
not a
block out the
problem.
dates. Yeah.
That's amazing to me. So do a lot of people do that? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the tax incentives brings them to that market.
And that helps your cost basis for buying the boat, correct? I'm assuming?
Yeah. Usually the budget will go up.
Okay, so you get a better boat at a higher price, right? Correct. And the boats that I've seen at the Palm Beach Boat Show and the Lauderdale Boat Show, I was there with Guy Harvey a couple of years ago. They're new and used both, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mainly focus on the brokerage side of things. I mean, a little bit background history on myself is I was a deckhand, then I was a captain, then I owned a yacht management company. I've done refit and yards. So really when I get a client's business and I bring them under my wing, it's super intimate on expectations of budget, operational costs, what they want to do, what their plan is with the boat. I mean, I've talked guys from a 100-footer into a 50-footer because they didn't realize the operational cost 1.2 a year. And if they're only going to use it for 2 months out of the whole entire year, is it really where you want to be at this point in your life?
You know, I find that fascinating, number one, that people don't think about the operating costs of the boat, the insurance, and just everything goes with the crew, the maintenance, all kinds of charges. I had no idea that you were like, what's the TV show Down Under or something?
Below Deck.
Below Deck, Down Under, Below Deck. I got the idea. You're Below Deck. I will tell you, I've watched Below Deck, which I find fascinating. I wonder how much of it is staged, quite honestly. You'd be the expert on that.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, they make up a lot of stuff that just really doesn't exist with the conflicts and all those kinds of. But that's why people tune in, basically. So did you start out, as a deckhand or something? Tell me where you started with this. I didn't know this about you. I've known you at a professional capacity, but I had no idea this. Where did you start and how long ago?
So I was born and raised Daytona Beach, Florida.
Love Daytona.
And was fishing with my grandfather as a kid all the way through. And then I was dealing blackjack craps in a casino boat in Jacksonville, paying way through college. And that captain said, well, this isn't a career for you. So I went out to Louisiana in the oil fields. I worked 2 years out there as a deckhand. From there, a very risky job. So I posted on social, got hired as a deckhand in Miami. And then from Miami, I ran my own boat at 24, ran up to a 112 Westport. And then from there, started a yacht management company because I saw the brokerage side of things. And I figured I can get more intimate with these owners and form more authentic relationships.
Wow.
And also educate them along the process of when they're buying and selling these boats or what they're getting into with transparency and education. So that's really where my benefit comes into play. It's not just, this is a beautiful asset, come on board.
You're not just selling, you know the product and you
Correct.
know the life cycle of it, what it takes. What'd you do in Louisiana? What were you doing there?
It was in the oil fields. It was a company called Schwest, and we were doing oil, like taking supplies from the land to these satellite
So
platforms.
you weren't working on the oil rig itself?
No, I was on the boats. It was crew boats, 180-foot aluminum hull crew boats. And we used to take oil and food and supplies, sometimes humans, to and from these satellites to land.
Yeah, it's a fascinating gig because you think about the size of those rigs. And I've only seen them on television. I've seen them from a distance when I was in Gulf Shores and those kinds of places, that they're just enormous from a distance. But you get up on them, they've got to be like a building, like a skyscraper. It just blows my mind.
Massive.
So you were doing that. So what I like about this, Paul, is, you just said this, and for folks who are listening, Paul Denton is here with me with Denison. It's that you're not just a person who said, I'll get my broker's license to sell boats. You actually know it.
Yeah.
You know the field.
I was passionate about it because I saw brokers that would show people assets and not have the education behind it or set their expectation of ownership.
Well, it's like selling a house. The people who get a real estate license and don't really know what they're doing, they just want to sell it as it's transactional. Clearly, you, with your company, it's not transactional in nature.
Well, for me personally, I can't speak for everybody. We have 110 brokers in our firm. But me personally, it's more for the relationship and setting expectations and longevity. I don't want to sell them one boat. I want to sell their boat, buy their next one with them, keep that rotation. I mean, it's called the 10-foot syndrome.
Of course.
So every 2 years or so, somebody's either selling and upgrading or selling and downgrading, or they're not in it for a short time.
And clearly you love what you do.
I love what I do every day on the water.
I mean, every time I see you in person, which is not often because you're so darn busy, you have this smile, this sense of energy about you for the passion of what you do, which is, I think, missing in a lot of professionals, quite honestly. And for somebody who wants to buy a boat, they're going to invest $500,000, which is a lot of money. Oh, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. $500,000 for a boat is a lot of money. I had a friend who had a Power Cat. Yeah, 28 or 32 foot or whatever, and they paid $500,000 for it. They crewed it themselves, but they knew exactly what they were doing, from fixing the ice maker to whatever they did, kind of thing. But the annual maintenance was a lot of work. You're pulling that boat out of the water every year. So, do you also, with your company, do you help people provide the maintenance schedules and those kinds of things? Do you with your sales? Do you advise them, or do you have companies you recommend, or you guys actually do that?
So we do it in-house as a yacht management company as well, but that would be anything under 80 feet we wouldn't manage.
Your industry's growing, correct? People are buying.
Oh yeah.
And
COVID was a boom, similar to RVs.
Yeah, I see the exponential growth in the yacht sales world. And, clearly being here in Palm Beach, people have big boats.
Oh, ton.
I'm sorry, they have big boats. It's just, I go across the bridge every morning or whatever to see
Australian docks, you see it's jack full right now.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but something good for them, right? I mean, it's terrific. If I had a dream in my life, I would have a big boat and a lot of money. I also know that I would call you because I know what it costs to operate a boat. There's all these things that go with it you just don't think that goes with it. Oh, I'll buy it and I'll put the gas in and here we go.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way. From knowing the depth of where you're going through to the storms, to the satellite, to the freshwater makers. I mean, it's a complicated piece of machinery.
Yeah, and it's setting expectations of where they want to do in their travel plans. Because if it's just you and the family and you just want to do one excursion, maybe a charter is a better option for you.
I think so, because we actually, my family, my spouse and I talked about going to one of those places where you rent them or you join a club or whatever. On
like
basis.
Freedom Boat Club.
Yeah, like Freedom Boat Club, one of those. And we kind of thought about. We thought, are we going to use that often? And the bottom line is we weren't going to. So we thought if we can do a one-off once in a while, we'll do that, and something we can handle that we can do because we're not sailors. Now, were you ever a sailing sailor in your life?
Never. Always powerboat.
Oh, that's a bit of a cop-out, isn't it?
I've always been a powerboater. I've had guys call me for $5 million sailboats, and I'm like, I really don't know where to start, but I do have somebody in my network that can assist.
But you've been on a sailboat. Did you ever crew a sailboat? Did you ever try to do that?
I was on one in Miami 2 weeks ago. We were on a sailing cat, and I didn't captain it. I didn't run it. I helped with the docking because when you're docking, you're under power.
Right.
But when we got out there and we started messing with the sails, I'm hands off.
So in your spare time, do you watch the America's Cup and things like that? Do you care? Because that's a different from what you do, but it's still boating. It's still in the sector of boating. Do you watch those kinds of things? See what happens there?
I do, yeah. And I actually have a friend who's participated in. I don't know if I could say what he does particularly, but he's a good client, so I watch it. But it's dangerous. I mean, people lose lives and the lines flying back and forth and losing fingers. And the Yeah.
And those are, I've looked at some of the boats and read about them, with sailboats. Those America Cup boats are not cheap.
No.
They're really expensive. And typically what I discovered is the people who own them don't sail them. It's a sport for them, basically. Correct. It's like, for the listeners, I'm here with Paul Denton and we're talking about the yachting industry and those kinds of great things and power boats and fishing boats. The people that I met when I was working with Guy Harvey, a lot of their power boats for fishing, the owners didn't get on them. They had crews that did this. They were competitions.
Yep.
And that's still, I'm like, okay, well, that's a gentleman's sport. That's a neat thing. So,
especially on the sport fishing side, for sure.
Sport fishing, there's huge tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
They're like 15 a year, on the East Coast alone. And it just blew my mind. So moving forward, for folks who are considering buying a boat, you obviously would have lots of advice for them.
Oh, yeah.
With boats, it's a material investment. It's an emotional investment. It's a time investment. And a lot of people, though, who just live on their boats, right?
There's a few. If they have a 2-year plan, you jump on, you be fully staffed with crew, and your goal is to go to Florida, to New York, through the Caribbean. Those scenarios do come arouse, but rarely do you see somebody full time. If it's a mega yacht or 80 to 200 footer, usually they're on it for holiday seasons.
And how do you get your boats back and forth from here to the European market? How does that work for you?
So depending on the size and the range of the boat, we'll either put it on a shipping container and they'll pick it up at Port Everglades here in Florida and they'll deliver it over to the Med. Or if you're going to California, it'll drop off in Mexico because of the Jones Act. You can't drop it in California.
Oh, really? Why is that? There's
a Jones Act that won't allow it to happen.
Okay, I don't know what that is. What's a Jones Act?
Better just Google the Jones Act and you'll figure it in. You'll dive in and realize that it's just not accepted.
It doesn't make sense. Okay. So you're taking back and forth the ships. I was in Lauderdale on a cruise ship in the last year or so, and I saw one of the boats putting boats on a boat to transport them back and forth, which I thought was fascinating. They had to have 30 or 40 on this cargo ship.
When they get shipped new from Europe, like the Rivas and the Ferrettis or the Sunseekers or anything from England, and you'll get shipped a brand new boat to Port Everglades from the manufacturer with 0 hours on it. Once it lands, you'll still have a lot of work to do. Usually clean up and maybe add some electronics or add some little knickknacks. But it's very common that a brand new boat gets shipped from Europe to Port Everglades for its first debut.
Where are most of the boats made? Where's like the epicenter of this? I mean, there's got to be one spot that they're coming from here or there.
Well, it's interesting because there's guys that will say, I just want an American-built boat, but then they'll show me an Italian-built boat, and they'll say, I want these lines. Well, that market's a different market than ours. You know, Westports, Hatterases, Vikings, these classic motor yacht-looking vessels are usually U.S.-built. But if you want the sexy lines and the beautiful interiors, I'm not saying that Westports don't have these as well.
Sure.
But you'll have to go to the European market, and you'll look at the Italian builds, you'll look at the English builds, the Turkish builds, that are just different lines, Dutch builds as well.
And I have to believe in the United States with what you're doing, Paul, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be. It has to employ hundreds of thousands of people. And in South Florida, I know the marine industry is also a multi-billion-dollar industry. It employs a lot of people. And you're one of them. You think about it.
100%.
And so it's when you talk about the Chamber of Commerce, it's good for the economy.
100%.
It's good for the economy and employ. So you've got over 100 brokers at Denton, correct?
Yep.
And they from all different kinds of areas, but we care about you of all the brokers. So if you're interested in finding out more, website is
qualityyachting.com, Instagram handle @_yachting or @quality_yachting, and same with LinkedIn, Paul Denton Jr.
Qualityyachting.com. It's very, very simple, and you can find all the other social media handles there also to find it. But the person you want to see is Paul Denton, quite honestly. That's who I care about. I want to make sure that if you think about buying a yacht or a boat of any size, any amount of money,
I'll be your matchmaker.
That's right. He handles the $500,000 up to the $20 million. If you're interested, I'm sure he can refer you to one of his colleagues if they want to go lower.
Or a sailboat.
Okay, we just got in the sailing industry. He's got sailboat friends also. But it's amazing. And, even if you want to just touch this, you can get a hold of Paul Denton, and you can go to the boat show. I'm sure he'll find a way to get you there if you want to see this and walk around.
When's this coming out?
Soon, the next few weeks. So
okay, because we got the Miami show the 14th to the 18th,
but they happen every year. Every year. And Paul, do they happen in succession? Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach.
Usually, our season kicks off at Lauderdale, which is October, the end of October. Then this month, coming up next week is now Miami, and then our finishing is Palm Beach in March.
So it's 3 a year, and they're through the season October through January, February, and March. Get a hold of Paul at qualityyachting.com, and he'll set you up. You go see this, and make sure when you go to this, you don't plan for just a half an hour. You've got to plan for a half a day, if not a full day, to walk around, because there's so much to see. The people who sell these, including Paul, are really nice people. They will tell you everything you need to know. And if you're a serious buyer, if you're just kicking, not the tires, you're kicking the hull, as you find out. So check it out. Paul, thank you for coming today. Thank you for your support of the Chamber, and we're so glad you're here. And we hope you sell billions of dollars coming up here in the new yacht shows and the new boat shows. This is Doug Evans. I'm the president and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. You've been listening to your Palm Beach Guide. We're out here every week. Wherever your favorite podcast is, we record these in the Populi Studios every week. And I'm glad you're here with us. But remember, come to Florida, come to Palm Beach County, come to the Palm Beaches, and check us out. You'll be glad you did. Make it a great day.